Hey friends, I'm Jamie Maddox, your wealth embodiment mentor. I teach how you are uniquely designed to attract wealth. In this podcast, I talk about body mapping and money. Body mapping is a unique map on your body that gives information, instructions, and direction for you specifically. Each episode, I highlight one area of the body, discuss its features, and more importantly, what that means for you and your money. So welcome. I'm excited to be on this journey together and can't wait to see what your body can teach you about money. Welcome back, friends. Today, we are talking about arms, and I'm actually so excited. I think I say that every episode, but I really am because arms are incredible. Now, I'm going to start by talking a little bit about my arms. And here's the thing. It was always fascinating to me growing up that I was active. I definitely did things, but I was never, okay, let's be honest. I'm still not into strength training. I do exercising and other types of things, but as far as like traditional strength training, that's never been like my go-to, okay? With that being said, I've always had really defined biceps and pretty naturally strong biceps. And I really like this. Don't get me wrong, I think it's actually fantastic, but it was always a little bit baffling to me that I could have such defined biceps without intentional working out with them, or for them, I should say. So when I learned about arms and body mapping, I was like, oh my goodness, this makes sense, okay? So arms are about our connection and our capacity, and specifically our ability to lift ourselves and to lift others. Now, when I say lift, I mean strengthen, support, lift, okay? So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're taking over for them, but that we have the ability to lift them. Because think about this physiologically. What do arms do? Like you're able to gather things in, like when you go for a hug or when you go to pick something up, and then you can lift things up, okay? So that's the beauty with body mapping is there's a physiological that matches with the emotional and energetic, right? So the lower half of your arm, so your forearm, that is your ability to lift yourself. And, you know, when you think about it, it's more of it's not the strongest part of your body on its own, right? But when you put it together with the upper arm, the bicep, which is your ability to lift others, then that actually naturally makes your forearm stronger, right? Because when you go to lift something, you have to use your bicep along with your forearm to lift something up. Okay, I hope this is making sense without the visual, but just imagine me showing you my arm and pointing it out and doing it, okay? But when you go to lift something, pay attention next time and really focus on what muscles are engaging as you lift something. And then be like, okay, can I lift something just with my forearm? Well, sure, you can, but it's not as strong. And I actually really love this principle because what it means to me is that when I'm consciously choosing who I'm able and willing to lift and strengthen, I will naturally lift and strengthen myself. And not in a self-sacrificing way, but it's a great way to be like, okay, if I am struggling to lift myself up or pull myself out, how can I intentionally, choose to lift or strengthen someone else? Because that can naturally help to lift and strengthen you. Okay, so going back to my defined bicep, when people have a defined upper arm, they are very clear on who they are willing and not willing to help or lift. So usually they have really good boundaries. And so when people tend to get a little bit more of, okay, let's be real. We've all heard them called wings, right? That sometimes we see people have, right? And that is totally okay. But what those wings represent is kind of like when you think of like a chicken, like gathering or a hen gathering her chickens. It's giving that space in that room to gather everybody in. So your body's being like, well, great, you want to help everybody, you want to gather everybody in. I'm going to give you the capacity for that. I'm going to give you this little bit of wings on the bottom of your upper arm so that you can take people in. Now, again, it's not good or bad. It just is something to be aware of. So if you're like, oh man, I have been working on that part of my arm and intentionally exercising it and not making a ton of progress, then that's where you get to say, okay, am I clear on who I'm willing and able to lift up? Or do I need to get a little bit more clarity on that and make some more definitive boundaries of what that looks like, of where I put my energy and who I'm willing and able to help? Now, I'm feeling like I just need to speak into boundaries for a second, because boundaries are the easiest way to show people how to love you. Okay. It's not to say, I'm going to push everyone away and reject everybody and be like, no one gets to come into my space or my area or my life. Not at all. It's saying, here's who I am. I know myself and I love myself enough to know what I'm willing to let in. And yeah, there's a standard to be let into my life because I care that much about myself. And boundaries become a really beautiful thing, because boundaries are actually really, really loving, because then people know where they stand. People know what's expected of them. And you, as the person holding those boundaries, number one, you're aware of your value more, and you're also able to communicate that. And also, you know who's coming into your life. You have a better idea of what you're allowing in because you're clear on what your boundaries are. Now, some of you are probably like, well, I don't know my boundaries. I don't know. I don't even know. Okay, that's all right. You can start really simple, really simple. If you have a ton of people asking you to help all the time, this is where you get to say, who am I actually wanting, willing, and able to help? And then you get to start saying no. Ooh, I know. Can be a little bit sometimes, right? But guess what? It's really beautiful, because when you start saying no to the things that really aren't in alignment with you and your life and your values, it opens the space for the things that are. And then people that do match your boundaries and your energy are going to come into your life. And then it not only becomes easier to lift others, but it becomes easier to lift yourself, right? Because that's your forearm. Now, I'm feeling like I just need to give a little bit of an exercise or a takeaway. Try this at home, okay? If you are having a hard time lifting yourself up or giving yourself credit for all of the things that you do, I really invite you each night to just gently rub the lower half of your arms and just say, oh, thank you so much for helping me today. I see you. I see all that you're doing, and I see how strong you are. Thank you for lifting me up. Sounds really simple and really easy, and it's really profound. You are reinforcing your value, that you are doing enough, that you are capable, that you are strong. And that is only going to help your body to show up even more for you in the ways that you want it to. Now, our elbows, so when you think about it, we've got the lower arm, which is about lifting yourself, the upper arm, lifting others. So we've got the elbow that connects it, right? And so it's flexibility and movement in the ability of lifting yourself and others, and also leadership, right? Because that is what leadership is. It is that ability to kind of bend and move and maneuver with the lifting and strengthening of people, right? So if people have some elbow issues, a lot of times that comes to them doubting their leadership abilities or confusion on lifting themselves and lifting others. Now, the capacity, so people that have longer arms tend to have a wider reach into the world. So again, just think about it. I mean, if you have longer arms, you have a greater capacity to pull things in, to hold things, to bring things to you, okay? So they tend to have a little bit of a more far-reaching effect. That does not mean that is any better or worse than people with shorter arms, just means that their purpose for lifting and their capacity is closer to home. It's not as far wide and spread as maybe those with long arms. So they tend to have a larger impact and larger effect on people either closer to them relationship-wise or geographically. Is that the right word? So it's a little bit closer to home with their reach. And arms are really also about comfort and receiving and just really bringing things together. And so I just really love arms that think about it. They can help soothe you and hold you, not just other people. We can all give ourselves a hug. So next time that you're needing a little bit of comfort or just that extra little boost, give yourself a hug. Okay, and if it's embarrassing, you don't have to do it in public. You can go into your bedroom and give yourself a hug. But here's the interesting thing. A lot of people, we've been taught body language wise that people that fold their arms are very closed off, they're guarded, they're putting up a boundary, right? But it actually is one of the ways that we can self-soothe. So usually they're looking for comfort. Now, again, this comes back to reading the room, reading the situation, because yeah, absolutely. Crossed arms can be a sign of someone being guarded or closing themselves off. Absolutely. But it can also be a sign of someone just looking for comfort or self-soothing themselves. So I always notice with myself whenever I cross or fold my arms in a situation, I'm at this point obviously aware of it. And I always just kind of notice what just shifted in me or the conversation or the room that I felt like I needed a little bit of soothing or comfort. Or was I getting guarded and closed off? But a lot of times for me, it's a comfort and soothing thing. And so it's just nice to kind of notice, what situations do I find myself folding my arms to comfort myself? And I usually keep them folded because I'm like, if that's what my body naturally did, I probably needed it, And so I love it, but because I can just be more aware of me and more aware of what my needs are in the moment and that I have these beautiful arms that don't only lift others, but also lift and comfort myself. So let me know anything about your arms. I would love to hear your thoughts, your comments, or if you've noticed when you fold your arms in different situations. And if that is something new that you're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that was a comforting and soothing technique. Or if just anything. I would love to hear about your arms because when we are able to be really defined on who we are willing and able to help, that actually gives us clarity on our mission. And also if our mission is able to bring us money, then when we're really clear on it, then we can actually just bring it in faster because we're like, here's who I can help. Here's how I can help. I know that I'm good at it and I'm going to just go forward and move with it because this is what I'm meant to do. And your arms are like, great, we've got the capacity, we've got the strength, we're going to do it. And therefore you can bring it in. You can bring in the right people, you can bring in the right resources, you can bring in the right money, and boom, your wealth has just grown. So Let me know how things are going. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks for listening. Make sure to check back each week for the newest content about your body and your wealth. If you've enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends and give it a 5-star review. Make sure to visit healinghopewithjamie.com for new offers, retreats, and ways to embody your wealthy life.